What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 26 of Sales Stories in Real Life. I'm your host, Alex Bruschi, and this is the sales show where salespeople share their experiences on times that they were buyers and they were being sold. I am over the moon to have a very special guest today. He is the #1 LinkedIn worldwide sales rep and career expert. He hit quota 42 quarters in a row and achieved growth in all those quarters, responsible for $200 million of revenue at LinkedIn. And if that wasn't enough, he recently started the Do Work Project, which teaches people how to crush their careers. It is a career course with a new cohort starting on February 1st. Quite the intro. Welcome to the show, Rob Humphrey, ladies and gentlemen. Rob, I hear that you had a pretty awesome experience when you were checking out Gravity House in Colorado. Let's hear it. What happened there?
Yeah, let's talk about it. So a lot of people have tried to sell things to me for sure, but this was really interesting. So Gravity House it's basically a hotel in the middle of Breckenridge, but it's actually a little bit more than that. So they have a subscription or a membership model. And essentially they're trying to sell you on the idea of how you get discounted rooms, but also you can go to this great workout center where they've got the plunge pool and the sauna, and of course all the workout equipment for the actual workouts. So this woman, Carly King, calls me and starts to sell me on the virtues of Gravity House, and I was like almost immediately sold.
What did she say? How did it go down?
Of course, I filled out the lead form, so she was following up, which is great. So I'm a warm lead by default, right? What I found most interesting is she was such a human, like just such a normal human person, like asking questions right out of the gates, trying to understand like what I'm up to. I learned actually that not only is she an amazing outdoor enthusiast, but also a pretty prolific singer. And if you look Carly King up on Spotify, you'll find some of her tunes are actually really good. So we really shared a lot of information together about like, hey, what's up with our life? And, you've been in sales for a long time. You know how difficult that is to build rapport right out of the gates. And I think the way she went about it was just incredible.
So break that down for us, Rob. So obviously you filled out the form. You're a
Yep.
warm lead. That's a very relatable experience for a lot of folks who are sellers, right? You have someone that's expressed some form of interest.
Mhm.
So like you said, she was very human and she was asking really great questions. Did she dive right into why Gravity House is awesome and you should come and check this and this and this out? Or did she kind of dive into the questions and learn more about you first? How did her talk track go?
It's a good question. So her talk track was interesting because, probably in our tech world, that would be like a sales development role, probably. But really, she was a great salesperson. I mean, her concept was like, sure, you can come and visit Gravity House in Breck and check it out, and you can find out all the information pretty much online. She instantly sent me a link and said, look, here's all the details, here's the price, all that type of stuff. Right out of the gates, that's disarming. And you know this because she wasn't spending any time, like bullshitting around about like how much it could cost or like having to go to her manager and like play around. It's pretty much, this is it. It's a couple grand a year. It's a pretty big investment. If you're not really needing the hotel part of it. And so what she did was really disarm me from like the price aspect or any of those types of things, offered up a tour and all those types of things right out of the gates. But really what was more interesting was, her right out of the gate sort of building sort of an interest in what I do. She looked at my LinkedIn profile. I thought that was interesting because, not being judgmental, but thinking, okay, this is a mountain girl. She's up there in Steamboat, Colorado, trying to sell me on, this membership. And, I was sort of like, I wonder how this will go. So I really found myself in a conversation about like, hey, I like to snowboard. I like to sell things. I'm not an introvert, but I spend a lot of time in a cabin alone sometimes. So we really got into talking about life and about like, well, how this could actually be useful for me. And it turns out there's a couple of ways that it was particularly useful, and she figured it out through that conversation. For example, I like the idea of co-working with people, right? I can only spend so much time in this remote world. just doing it solo. So it turns out they have a co-working facility, right? I could book a conference room. I could go there and do my job all day. And guess what? I can actually go and do a bunch of snowboard runs at lunchtime very, very easily because it's 15 feet from a lift. So those types of things are, while simplistic, they're really great examples of something just being like, look, I'm a human person. I want to know about you as a person and what your goals and interests are. And I want to create mutual success. Of course, I want you to sign up for this and I want to go to my next phone call. But I never felt that way ever in the couple of interactions I had on the phone and email.
This is so critical, Rob, because sales stories in real life, we're trying to connect salespeople to those core elements of being consumers, right? Why do people buy? Why do people decide not to buy? So if you're listening to this and you're new to sales and you were told, hey, you got to call somebody up and sell them on a Gravity House membership, the first thing that you won't probably be thinking of is, hey, let me talk to this person about their life, right? And what they like to do, right? They would be thinking, okay, I got to tell them all about the gym, right? I got to tell them all about the state of the art equipment and the amazing all this and that. And so I guess kind of like take us to that moment, right? Where like you're getting a call and you're expected to be sold on Gravity House and it's just questions about you, right? And what you want to do and like what makes you tick, right? Like take us to that moment there.
Yeah, I think that's the point at which you're realizing you're making a connection with someone, um, and you're not in some sales process. There's no narrative to be shared. There's no deck to be shared. It's pretty simple stuff, right? It's not complex. I think that the learning lessons here, about like asking questions and disarming the whole sales process, were well demonstrated by someone who hasn't gone through probably a lot of sales training or some Sandler method or whatever the hell they call it, all that stuff, but rather someone that, I think basically right out of the gates proved to me that their interest is in doing really cool stuff, snowboarding, music. And, I'm also a salesperson at this company and that pays my bills. And that's a unique approach. And I think when you really think about it as a salesperson, a sales professional, like it is about making money, but you can do it in a conscious way. And so that was demonstrated pretty easily. Like I was on the phone for probably 20 minutes more than I thought I would be, talking about topics that weren't really about the membership at all. I certainly am going to sign up for a membership. There's no doubt. Like, I want to go do that. And partially because, I had a good experience.
Buyer experience is everything. That's something that we have learned and we have reiterated the message time and time again, just how important that buyer experience is. Let's flip it on its head for a moment and have some fun with this. I didn't plan to do this, but let's go for it. I feel like you teed me up for it perfectly. Like, have you ever been sold a similar service unsuccessfully? Right? It's a fairly common model, right?
Yeah.
Kind of co-working space, kind of gym, right? Kind of
Yeah.
lounge. So like
Yeah.
I'm sure you've been pitched similar before. How did it go unsuccessfully in the past?
Yeah, normally it's you can almost you not almost you can totally tell it's scripted, right? When you get those calls and it's unknown caller, and sometimes because you're a sales rep, sales professional, you answer the call. I do it, drives my family nuts, but I do it anyway just to see like what they're gonna do. Um, no, I don't want to sell my house or refinance my house, like none of that, right? And so the learning lesson is like just just sort of like avoiding that. But I've had so many people call me, and maybe it's my lack of social life, but I like to listen to these calls, and they're so scripted. And I see a lot of tech sales people do this as well. You get the emails and the phone calls, mostly emails in the tech world, where it's like, look, we've got this product, and hey, my favorite thing, by the way, is, and I'm so glad this isn't a scripted podcast, so much funner, is when you get that message, hey, you haven't responded to my message. Can you please respectfully like let me know? Like if it's a no, that's okay. Just get back to me. Like almost like in some weird desperation, like you're Bambi out there alone in the woods waiting to get capped. I mean, take a breather, man. You know what I mean? Take a breather.
No kidding. No kidding. I'm trying to get my camera refocused here. I don't know what the heck just happened, but I mean, obviously, you have a lot of very relevant LinkedIn experience that we could talk about too, on top of some bad experiences that you've heard. And also, let me just throw in there, I love that you take the sales calls just out of curiosity to see what it's going to sound like. That's a true salesperson right there. But maybe talk about a little bit some of your relevant experience at LinkedIn, right? Because obviously this episode is going to get posted to LinkedIn. It's a platform that some 800 plus million people are using, right? You're a career expert. So you obviously can kind of give us some insights that I'm sure most other people won't have. What would you maybe talk on that for a couple minutes on?
Yeah, I mean, LinkedIn is really interesting. I've been there almost 13 years. I've been a seller there for the entire time. And here's the things that really are the most important to focus in on. And let me actually tell you, like, things to not focus in on are, okay, there's a lot of memes and there's a lot of weird stuff on there, right? A lot of politics. It's easy to remove that stuff. Condition your feed. Like, just remove or block the people that you don't want to follow. It's that simple. Really start to think about these three things on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is not a job board, right? It's a great place to manage your career, get a job, and all types. It's not a job board. It's a huge, largely curated and professional feed. It's not Facebook, it's not Instagram, it's not that sexy, but it's the most useful feed for salespeople in the world, right? It's actually making most people's sales jobs much easier than it has been in the past. And if you're old like me and you had to pick up the phone, use an index card or a phone book, right? I might be dating myself here and had to go through that process of being hung up on hundreds of times in a given week, then you know. So, first of all, think of LinkedIn as one big news feed. Second is it's the biggest professional Rolodex in the world. Like, what else do you want? And thirdly, the biggest opportunity on LinkedIn, it's simple. It's content. And it's not some fancy video. It's not some animated graphic. It's two sentences that you write once a day to let people know that you have an opinion or that you have some particular expertise or that maybe you like to go snowboarding or surfing and you're a human being and you're someone that's fun to work with. I think those are the three things that people sort of miss. It's just a Rolodex, an amazingly curated and moderated, self moderated feed, and most importantly, a great place to express yourself and your humanity.
One thing that I will harp on until the end of time is that there is no platform that creates camaraderie between its users like LinkedIn, right? Because these are real life people that are tethered to a real life job, that are tethered to a real life company, not just fake profiles popping up everywhere, right? You have no idea these people's credentials or where they came from or yada, yada. So I couldn't harp on that message enough. And I mean, what's it been like for you to be there for now 12 years, is it, if I recall
It'll be
correctly?
13 years in March. It's been phenomenal. I mean, the culture in the company is largely the same. It's certainly different than when there is, a couple hundred people when they started. Um, but it's largely the same kind of a culture across the board from a leadership perspective down through the sales organization and so on. And what I mean by that is very unique. Um, People like to at LinkedIn dream big and get shit done and have fun. It's pretty evident that that's how we operate. My favorite part of LinkedIn is essentially there's a lot of really amazing people that work here, and everyone does like sort of try to avoid the usual hierarchical or positional power type of dynamics you see in other organizations. And for me, that's great. Like, I could be myself. I could wear a t-shirt and have my tattoo showing. I could, say things that might be not completely popular, but constructive. And people respect that. So it's a really unique place culturally. So that's why I've been here for so long. And that's why I enjoy it.
Love that. That's going to be a really great soundbite to chop up to. Rob, this has been awesome. Obviously, we could riff on this for days here, but we've got some B2B sellers that are listening and they want a big takeaway that they could take home. And we literally want to help folks get better at their job tomorrow. So what would be the biggest takeaway, or what would be one kind of main takeaway, right? You've seen a lot of success, 42 freaking quarters in a row, right, of growing your book, hitting quota. that doesn't happen by accident. What would you kind of give as a main takeaway as we wrap up?
Yeah, I think the main takeaway is, um, as Kendrick Lamar says in one of his most famous songs, be different and do different things. Like, don't just do everything everyone else does. Take some risks. Don't follow the corporate marketing narrative that's been handed down to you. Don't sweat the PowerPoint deck or whatever. Just focus your energy on, creating connectivity in a meaningful way, in a way that you're excited about, and do it that way. For example, reaching out to people on LinkedIn and asking for a coffee chat for 15 minutes. I mean, it's a little hackneyed. Why not instead send people a video, which you could easily do through LinkedIn messaging, or maybe get a little bit more guts, I guess. I don't know, and just put a video on LinkedIn being, look, this is sort of what our company is offering, or what I'm all about. Like, use the things that are in the feed to make real connections in a compassionate and human way, instead of just following the rules. Um, you read it all over LinkedIn now. A lot of people are getting laid off. A lot of people are having great success. It's such a weird space right now. But I think what the message is, or the message that people should get, B2B sellers in particular, is like, look, do different things and just try them out, and don't ask for a lot of permission to do it. And if you do that, assuredly you're gonna be more excited about your job.
I'm not even going to add on top of that because what you just said was so good. Everybody needs to hear that. You're either fitting in or you're standing out. And if you're fitting in, you're not going to break through the noise. It's simple
Yeah.
as that. Rob, you obviously know how to break through the noise. You've got a lot of stuff that you're working on with your Do Work project. So before we hop off, please go and plug away, because I know a lot of folks are going to be interested in hearing this, especially
Yeah.
that you've got a cohort coming up February 1st. Let's hear it.
So listen, I've been in ed tech and all this stuff, and I've been a coach and a trainer informally and formally for a long, long time. I've done talks to over 50,000 students in my tenure at LinkedIn. And what I finally have done is just put together a course. It's a live learning course. It's 3 live lectures, uh, 2 office hours, an assignment, a bunch of special guests that join. And we'll help people basically design their career, get paid what they're worth, and be confident enough to make things happen. The next cohort starting February 1st. And it's going to be a great experience. So people should definitely consider it, whether you're starting your career, restarting your career, or you're in transition. It's a good way for you to work with me in a really vibrant and exciting learning experience.
You heard it here first, folks. Be sure to connect with Rob Humphrey on LinkedIn. Check out the Do Work project. That next cohort is coming up just next week. This episode is going to be releasing just about a week before February 1st. So make sure that you sign up. There is surely going to be a lot of interest. Rob, this has been absolutely phenomenal. Can't thank you enough. You're an absolute living legend. Seriously, this means the world to us. Sales Stories in Real Life, fam. We will see you again next week, and we will try to keep it up with the high flying guests. Thank you.